It was a sunny fall day in 1980, and for 19-year-old Bobby, life couldn't get any better. It was his first day at Sullivan County Community College in New York, and everyone on campus was welcoming him in an extraordinary way. Guys asked him how his summer was, girls ran up to hug him, some even kissed him. Confused, Bobby wandered around thinking, wow, people here are really friendly. Maybe it's some college tradition. But then someone shouted from behind, "Hey, Eddie!" "Welcome back." Bobby froze. "Eddie? Who's Eddie?" "I'm Bobby." Robert Bobby Shafran was born on July 12, 1960 in Long Island, New York. He grew up in a wealthy neighborhood called Scarsdale. His father was a famous doctor and his mother was a successful lawyer. And Bobby always knew one thing: he was adopted. But until that day, he never really thought about his biological family. So why was everyone calling him Eddie? The answer came quickly when Eddie's college roommate approached him. After staring at Bobby for a while, he asked, "Hey man, were you adopted?" Bobby said, "Yeah, I was." The roommate laughed and said, "Dude, you might have a twin brother." Still shocked, Bobby got Eddie's phone number and called him. As soon as Eddie answered the phone, Bobby felt chills because the voice on the other end sounded exactly like his own. On the other side of the call was Edward Eddie Galland, born on the exact same day, at the exact same hospital. Eddie had been adopted by a middle-class conservative family. He too had an adopted sister. Just like Bobby, they agreed to meet. And when they finally saw each other, it was like looking into a mirror. For 19 years, these identical twins had no idea the other existed. As their story hit the newspapers, everyone was amazed. Twins separated at birth and reunited by chance. It was a media sensation. But then, a third person saw their photo in the newspaper. His name was David Kellman. David was also born on July 12, 1960, at the same hospital. And he too was adopted by a working-class family. Like Bobby and Eddie, David also had an adopted sister. When David saw the pictures, he was stunned. They looked exactly like him. So he called Eddie's family and said, "I think I'm the third brother." And just like that, the twins became triplets. The first time all three met was at David's aunt's house. They laughed, hugged, and cried. It was like they had known each other their entire lives. They shared the same smile, the same gestures, and even the same favorite things. Same cigarettes, same colors, same taste in girls. It was a family reborn. From that day, they did everything together, partying, traveling, living together, enjoying the brotherhood they never knew they had. But behind all the joy, there was a mystery. Why were they separated in the first place? When their adoptive parents confronted the Louise Wise Adoption Agency, the agency simply said, "We thought it would be too hard to place 3 babies in one home." But that answer didn't feel right. Why weren't the families even told that they were triplets? Why did social workers visit them often and take strange notes? Something wasn't adding up. But behind all the joy, there was a mystery. Why were they separated in the first place? When their adoptive parents confronted the Louise Wise Adoption Agency, the agency simply said, "We thought it would be too hard to place 3 babies in one home." But that answer didn't feel right. Why weren't the families even told that they were triplets? Why did social workers visit them often and take strange notes? Something wasn't adding up. Years later, in the 1990s, journalist Lawrence Wright began investigating. He discovered the triplets had been part of a secret psychological experiment. Led by psychiatrist Peter Neubauer, the experiment aimed to study nature versus nurture. Are we shaped by our genes or our environment? To do this, identical siblings were separated at birth and placed in families from different social classes. Bobby in a rich family, Eddie in a middle-class family, David in a working-class family. None of the families knew about the others. The boys were visited throughout their childhood by researchers, filmed, tested, and studied, all without their consent. They weren't just brothers, they were lab rats in a cruel human experiment. Though reunited, life wasn't perfect. They opened a successful restaurant called Triplets, but cracks began to show. Bobby eventually left the business to become a lawyer. David, the most stable, worked in insurance. But Eddie struggled with mental health issues, depression, bipolar disorder. In 1995, at just 34 years old, Eddie took his own life. The experiment's full data, still sealed until 2065. No one knows how many other siblings were part of this study. There may be other twins or triplets who still don't know the truth. So what shapes us more, our genes or our environment? These brothers, with the same DNA but different lives, proved that both matter. Genes give us potential. Life shapes how that potential unfolds. And though they lost time, Bobby and David still live on, carrying the memory of their brother Eddie.